Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Canadian Woman of the Outdoors. We are on episode 2 of 2024. Before I introduce my next guest, who I'm super excited for, you have no idea. I just want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Antonio, or Chef Antonio Smash Maleka of Eating Wild podcast, who sent me a gorgeous knife. If you haven't seen it, I will be posting it, or we'll post it on social media. It's a beautiful knife. So thank you, Chef Antonio, for that. I cannot wait to use it. It's beautiful. And it's from Kakushin Knives. I think I've pronounced it right. So hopefully I have. Anyway, back to now me and our episode. I'm really excited about this guest. I have talked about them and her on my episode that I did myself for when Chrissy interviewed me, and the Eating Wild podcast. I've known her for a couple of years now. I fished with her. I am part of their team. I would like to introduce Miss Nikki Christie, co-owner of none other than True North Baits. And if you haven't heard me talk about them, you should listen, because I talk about them a lot. So welcome, Nikki.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Nicole.
I've been waiting to sit down with you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I've talked about you. I don't know if you have been listening or you haven't caught up yet, but I have talked about you and True North Baits so much. And I love your plastics. I love both of you and Jamie. You guys are amazing humans. So I'm really excited for this episode. I'm actually like vibrating with excitement.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. I've been excited to do this as well.
It's actually, so it's funny. I'm really nervous, but I'm like excited nervous. I'm like, I have to do True North Baits and you justice, but I'm like, oh my God, like I hope I do it. So I'm pretty pumped to have you. Okay, so we'll get down to business. First question. So where did you come from? Where did you grow up? How did you get into the fishing outdoors? Did it start with fishing, hunting, just canoe trips? Like where did all that start?
Mm-hmm. I grew up in the country, just about 15-20 minutes outside of any city. So like as a kid, I had lots of freedom, loads of freedom. I was one of those lucky kids that, grew up outside. And my parents were those people who locked the door and said, go out, get outside, right? And lived on my bike and lived in the neighborhood and that sort of thing. And then when I was about 8 years old, my parents bought a cottage. And so that wasn't my very first introduction to fishing by any means. They had taken us a couple of times. I don't really remember a lot. There's pictures, but I don't really remember. But once we got the cottage and we discovered that, it was good fishing. We were out in the boat as often as we possibly could. We had this little tinner, and there was muskie and there was bass.
Oh my goodness.
And
muskie right away, eh?
Well, the funny thing is that I never caught a muskie in all the years that we fished, which is just crazy to me. So it would be my dad, my grandfather, and my brother, and we'd go out and we'd troll, and we'd do like top water and stuff too. And they had a lot of success. I always caught bass and never a muskie. Mm-hmm. And I was the girl in the boat, right? So like I had the little red push button, reel. Whereas
I know exactly what rod you're talking about, because I'm pretty sure that was my first one too.
And like my brother gets this like beautiful musky rod and a lovely spinning reel. And to like a kid, that was pretty cool, right? To have a spinning reel at the time. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think it was just luck and everything else, but everybody in that boat caught muskies and I never caught one. I was the net girl. I was forever that net girl when it came to muskie. I caught lots of bass and, I loved it. I mean, I was out there trying as hard as I possibly could. But my muskie came years later.
So you have caught a muskie now.
Oh yeah, I have.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, did you make up for it and catch the
I sure
muskies?
did.
I mean,
I sure did.
so I don't know, but I love bass fishing myself. I
Yeah,
think bass put up one heck of a fight to begin with.
yeah,
So, I mean, and bass, any fish really at a young age, you're like, "Yay, I caught a fish." So,
yes.
that's
Well,
just
I'm still like that though.
I feel that, yeah.
I'm
It's
still such a child when I catch a fish.
so is Caitlin. She, like, girl shrieks, and she's
Right.
like, "Ah!" And I'm like, "It's a fish." I mean, yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 pound bass, but it's a fish.
I
But
know.
she shrieks like a little girl, and I'm like, "Well, I
Good.
mean,
She hasn't lost that kid, joy.
no, no."
Yeah.
Um, so do you hunt, or are
Yeah.
you starting to get into hunting now? Because I think I saw a post when you were out with Dana.
Yep.
Um, I believe it was out with Dana. That was
Yeah.
a
That,
little
that was my very first hunt. It was
that
a
was
turkey.
a goose hunt. Oh, turkey.
Yeah. It kind of went a little bit south. There was my friend Rose and Dana and my friend Jenny, and it was amazing just because it was my first time. So it was that first sit. Like I was just so nervous. It was insane. And it kind of went south really quickly because all of a sudden there were people walking
Wait,
by.
what? Oh,
Yeah, like, and we were on somebody's property, and in the
I was
woods.
gonna say it wasn't public, was it?
No, it wasn't. And like
Oh.
so we were kind of on the edge of this property, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden we could hear like all this like pop 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 pop. And I don't know, I wasn't sure. Like I thought maybe people were hunting like over on the next property, and
Mhm.
the person who like set the hunt up had no idea what was going on. And then all of a sudden we see this like giant man walking towards where our we were in a blind, and he had like a full balaclava, like this massive gun. And I was thinking in my head, like, oh my goodness, like, is this it? Like, is he coming? Like, it was crazy. Anyways, they were doing paintball, a big giant paintball.
You gotta be kidding me.
No, so that was kind of it was that was the end of that. But I mean, still amazing. Learned a ton, loads of stuff because Dana's, very she knows her stuff, and same with my friend Jen. So Rose and I, it was our first time, so we learned a
Mhm.
ton. It was cool. It was still cool.
Are you getting back out this year? Are you gonna go for a turkey hunt this year
Yeah,
again, or yeah?
absolutely. Yeah,
Turkey's my favorite, so there's nothing like when you actually get into a turkey hunt and you, like, hear those gobbles when it's not ruined.
yeah,
Oh, your adrenaline, you may jump. I my first turkey hunt, I jumped 16 feet in the air when I first heard the gobble, like, 20 feet to my right.
yeah.
But so are you gonna do, like, goose and stuff, like, get a deer? I've seen, Jamie has been posting, some, trail cam pics and stuff
Yeah,
like that, so are you guys
yeah.
gonna get into that this year?
Yep, yeah, we did one sit together. Like I didn't have a tag for a deer, so I was just sitting with him,
Yeah.
and then we were hoping that maybe we could call in a coyote after, but we didn't, and that's okay. Um, but yeah, I have a goose hunt for next October booked with Dana. So,
I think I'm cooking at that one, actually.
oh, seriously?
Yeah,
Oh, that.
so me and Dana have been chit-chatting. She's actually, funny story, she's actually my next guest. She'll
Okay,
be so I'm actually going to be the chef, I believe, at that hunt.
that's awesome.
Um, yeah, it's in October, so I will be the
Hmm,
camp chef at that hunt. So you're gonna
nice.
eat lots of good food that weekend.
Oh, that's so cool. I love
Yeah,
it. I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah,
about. Hmm.
it's gonna be fun. I mean, we always have a good time. I've done prior to COVID, before COVID and whatnot.
Yeah,
I went on those hunts and it's a great time.
yeah.
Like, even if you don't get birds, like, just the camaraderie and hanging out, so much
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to learn, when you're a freshie, there's just so much to learn. I love that. I love
And
it.
I mean, like, if you're a sponge too, like I'm a sponge,
Mhm,
you absorb all the information. And
mhm.
it's so, and a lot of, like, if I think I'm not sure if it's Lance, but I hope it's Lance. learning to call from that man,
Mm.
that's the gentleman you want to learn your
Yeah.
goose calling and your duck calling from. He's
Okay.
incredible. So,
Yeah, I don't know
uh,
how to do any of those things. And I don't even think
it's
I tried. So
I mean, when I first started, I had no clue, but now a few years later, I now feel comfortable enough like I could go out myself.
yeah.
So, these are the people you want to learn from. So, it's
Hmm.
awesome. It's awesome that you're going on that to start your hunting. So
I
we're gonna
mean,
switch.
hopefully we'll have some more hunting in between in before that, like some spring hunting. The turkeys would be nice.
Oh yeah, and I mean like turkeys. Turkey. It's not easy, but I mean it's definitely a different kind of hunt,
Yeah.
and it is my favorite. Turkey weather is like I've said before. You can go from like +30 to raining to snow in like a matter of 3 days.
Right.
Turkey hunting is just something else. Um, but circling back, we're gonna
Yeah.
get back into fishing a little bit
Yeah.
because you're wearing that awesome sweater,
Yeah.
and I love that sweater. So because I don't know the story,
Yeah.
how did you get involved? You and Jamie start TNB, True North Baits. Did I don't know the backstory, so
Yeah.
if I don't know, so I'm very curious because again, these baits are fantastic. You guys do the sportsman show, the ice fishing show in November. You guys were at Cancast too, were you
Mhm.
not?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
become such a big thing. And I mean, even when I was on the Eating Wild podcast, those boys were like, "Yeah, we just ordered a bunch of stuff from True North Baits." And I was like, "They're amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you absolutely need to."
Yeah. Yes, it's definitely been just an incredible whirlwind, right? Um, when what Jamie and I had kind of we were still fairly new.
Mhm.
And one of our first real dates where we did something like we spent the day together. We went fishing, and
Oh, that's the best date ever.
right, it was pretty incredible. Um, there was only one fish caught, but it was super early, so in the year, and it didn't matter. Like we just have this really great connection, and we and when he took me fishing, like it just really brought that because I hadn't fished since I was a kid. Because life kind of happens and you stop doing those things. And I went to university and stuff. My life totally changed
Yep.
after. But now, like when I met him, he sort of gave me that like he sort of pulled all that stuff out of me, like where we started doing the things that I used to do when I was young and the things that I really enjoyed doing. Because I've always been an outdoor person. Like I like to hike and be outside. And so anyway, so we started going on these fishing trips together, like it was just we just clicked and we just had the absolute best time. And there was a lot of species that I'd never caught before. So back to that, like Nikki catching a fish, she just acts like a child, right? So like just had the best time ever, always. And so he really got into fishing as well, because I don't know, I think he was a little bit out of it, also just because he had lots of stuff going on in his life when I met him. And so he started when COVID hit. He decided that because all had all this time on our hands, right?
Yep.
And so he was working, but he was working from home.
Mhm.
So he ordered a couple of molds, just like a single frog mold. I think that was where it all started. And it took a while to come in, and he ordered a small jug of plastic and all the little things that you'd need to just do a few little molds. And he started pouring that in the garage. And I remember like going out to the garage and, kind of seeing his baits and thinking like, this is terribly smelly. And I could literally barely stomach it. I'm not even joking. Like I was like out in the barn, like gagging because, he buys this scent and it's like, it's
Yeah, the
hot garlic.
garlic, like, yeah.
And like the first time I smelt it, honest to God, like I was like, I don't even know how you're sitting near this stuff. This is terrible. I'd like
That's
look at it
amazing.
from afar.
That's
I know,
amazing.
which is hilarious now because like I lift up like the tubs that we have our baits in, and I'm just like,
Well, and so when me and Caitlin were getting ready for our fishing trip this past weekend, we were like opening our tackle box and it was like, oh, it smells so good.
Now
Like
it's so funny. Like I love the smell now, but I didn't like it at first. So anyways, that's where it started. It was out in the it was out in the garage, and it was just for fun, because a lot, like, I don't know if you ever use topwater frogs, but like the fish are always ripping the legs off. So that's why he
yes.
wanted to start with there, and they're expensive to purchase. So anyways, it sort of snowballed from there where we were making, at one point he had to go back to work and I was laid off from my job. So then I was outside like playing around and pouring baits for him. He'd call me and say like, oh, I got this guy who wants this blue color. You think he can like figure it out? So then, I kind of played around one day and I was pouring some blue baits for him, and it was cool. And then so then it just literally gradually, where we were just making more baits. It's just a constant making more baits, right? And then
I
so like,
see all the updates on social medias and you guys are just coming up with newer and
yeah.
different concepts. And I mean, your mayflies are
Yeah. Yeah,
can't
the mayfly is pretty cool. Like the ones that we have that we did ourselves, that we custom designed the baits, those are our babies. Like the mayfly is pretty cool. Because
so
we designed that one.
I was gonna say, which ones have you custom designed? I don't know the answer to this question. I
Um,
should, considering I'm on your team, but
yeah, the
I
mayfly
did know that. Yeah.
from Simcoe, from the bugs that the burrowing mayflies.
Yep.
We got that from, and the little squirt, which is like our top crappy bait.
Hmm.
The baby invader and the regular invader.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if I'm going to remember them all.
There's so many.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wall in my head. What else? I feel because there's 8 baits. Oh, the mini swagger. I don't know. Have you ever used the mini swagger?
I caught a pike on the mini swagger on I think it was the radioactive, the
Yeah.
greenie. I
Hmm.
caught a pike on that.
Yes.
Just from a bridge.
From
I
a
talked.
bridge.
Yeah, we were up like 5 minutes from my place, just bridge fishing, and I threw an on a Ned head. I had
Yeah.
the radioactive mini swagger, and I caught like a decent sized pike, and I was like, okay,
That's awesome.
was not expecting that, but all right,
I feel like that bait is one of our most underrated baits. It's a
I
dynamite.
agree.
Yeah, the mini swagger, and then we have the regular swagger. It's like a five
Mhm.
inch paddle tail. It's just a bigger version. I still feel like I'm missing one, but anyways.
You're gonna get off later, and James will be like, oh my
Oh,
god,
he's
like
oh I yeah.
you
Yeah.
forgot that one. Oh,
Duh.
it's okay. We can comment on it, or he can comment on it and be like, we also have this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so the baits and stuff like that. So what's your favorite fish to target and what's your favorite bait to use to target that
My
fish?
favorite fish to target.
Yes.
Oh, this is tough. Um, I have a couple. I love musky fishing at the cottage. I love bass fishing also. My favorite for bass, I would say, is we our Ned craw.
Yes.
I really like the Ned rig. I've always been. I don't know. I know people make fun of that one, but I love it. And our little crawl with they have the little crawls on
The
them.
way it like
Nine.
moves across the water, it's super neat.
Yeah. Um, Walleye. I love spring walleye. And our hair jig underspins are like dynamite. The bucktail underspins.
Mhm.
That bait is amazing too. It's not a soft plastic, but it is dynamite. That thing will catch you anything.
Hmm.
And then I love perch fishing in the wintertime. And
Yes.
my favorite bait for that one is probably the baby invader and the mini mayfly.
You guys just got back from perch fishing. You guys headed out to Simcoe on the weekend, did you not?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, you guys it looked like you guys caught some decent
We
perch
did.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
did.
you were out on Simcoe, right?
Yep.
Were
Yep.
you switching up or were you using the invader
Yeah.
or
We were
colors? Like, what were
using
they hitting? Tell the
um
world what they were hitting on Simcoe.
I'm trying to think what was my Um, Probably the Baby Invader, and Jamie was using our micro tube.
Okay.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes this trip I wasn't, but sometimes you'll do like a double hook,
Mhm.
and I'll put a mini mayfly on the top and a micro tube on the bottom, and that's a dynamite combo. Yeah.
What was the ice like on Simcoe?
The ice was great. Like Saturday we were out and it was good, and we were on Cooks Bay,
Okay.
and it was good. Like the ice was singing in the right ways, right? And
Mhm.
it was about 7 inches of ice, and it was good.
That's
And then
not bad. Yeah.
there was a big pressure crack that we had to cross, but it was fine. And then we went back Sunday because Saturday was so great.
Mhm.
And it was just a different day. We walked out fine, and the the ice was just singing like crazy and cracking like the whole time. So we had like cracks through our hut and like through our
Oh,
holes, and like it was, to the point where everybody on the ice is like shouting when they're cracking. They're like hooting and hollering, because it was like, whew, that was interesting. And then there was a huge shift to the point where like we were sitting on the ice and it was like doing that.
mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And there was a huge noise, and it was like the shifting. That's never happened before. I've never experienced that before. So we kind of packed. We weren't having a great day. We weren't catching any big ones. So we just thought we'd count our losses and get home and do some work. So we headed back, and the pressure crack had opened up.
Oh no, thank you.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, Jamie's just trucking on ahead of me, and I'm just like, oh, like what are we
Yeah.
gonna do? Anyways,
Did you
we found a spot to cross, but
did you see, I think it's in Michigan where they actually had to send a helicopter to
see pictures, yeah.
send a helicopter to rescue people who the ice broke off. Like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yes. I've seen that. I would just I wouldn't react well to that.
I would not either. And that's why like Simcoe, like I love Simcoe, but it's so hard. And with like I know last year it wasn't great. This year hasn't been a great start. Like I hope it gets better, but
I hope so too. Because
Simcoe is getting
I,
like scarier and scarier.
yeah, yes, yeah. Like we like to do at least one camp out too on
Mhm.
Simcoe, and we did last year. So I'm hoping that we can get out there and do that again. Yeah,
Mhm.
but you need the ice. I just want the ice to be, consistently good. So
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Like,
Mhm.
you gotta keep an eye on everything because the last thing you want is to set up your camp, and then all of a sudden you break off and you're floating in a breeze, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, no. And
that's
like we didn't spend the entire day. Like we got out there at maybe on the ice at 7, and we were back, like walking back by noon, and
okay.
it had changed that much, in that short period of time.
And that was on the Sunday.
Yeah,
Oof, no, thank
yeah.
you.
I
That's
mean, there was still people coming out and like not bothered by it, but I don't know. That wasn't me.
I I see people and you can like see like it's only like 2 inches and you can see through the ice, and I'm like, no, I need some snow on there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to see through the actual ice itself.
Oh, that was Saturday because there hadn't been any snow come down yet. So we were walking out on clear ice on Saturday, and that was a trip. I'm telling you, I've never experienced that before. It was neat, but it was like, oof, just like right behind you could see the ripples on the sand below you.
That would terrify me.
Yeah,
Like if I can see the fish, I don't want to see the fish. I want to see the fish on my fish finder, not like right through. No, thank you. That would
yeah.
terrify me. So props to you for being out. Like if that had been me, I'd been like, sorry, we're turning around. I'm out. No, thank you.
Yeah, like I was actually impressed by my calmness. But like when we were on the shifting ice, like I was sort of kneeling at the time, and it just sort of shifted right underneath us. And like even Jamie like made this 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 react. He had this reaction like, okay, you're supposed to be the one who knows what they're doing, and I'm like, not that but it was not cool. But like I kept my calm pretty. I wasn't like, okay, let's go now.
I'm getting anxiety listening to this story. Like, oh,
I know. I'm just praying that next time that won't happen.
yeah. Okay. Um, so we talked about we've done open water for musky bass. We've talked about ice. So what is your favorite way to fish? Do you prefer open water, ice fishing? You mentioned camping. Like what do you prefer the ice fishing camping? Like what's your thoughts on that?
I love camping. I love that, because we typically catch a bunch of fish and then we cook the fish right there. And there's just something about, catching your fish and setting up like this cozy little spot. And I don't know, I love it. I last year, we just went for one night, and um I'm trying to think what we did, because the first year we set up like a hut separate to our sleeping hut so that we
Mhm.
fit that one, so that if we wanted to move around or whatever. And then we had like our bigger where we slept. But I think we just stayed in the bigger last time. And it's, I don't know, we just do it so cozy, and it's comfortable. And, you're just like basically sitting there catching fish, and you're eating it, going to bed. There's
That's
there's nothing really better. And like the sunset that night was so cool.
oh, I
There,
bet.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's about all of it.
That's
About
so I was going to
all
ask you what the camping setup was and like so you obviously do you eat all the fish that you catch or just
No.
like certain fish?
Well, we were perching, so
Okay.
I think I think we filleted like maybe 8 fish or something and ate that. And that's all we ate, just to keep it
Mhm.
simple. And then we just kind of keep fishing into the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. And then you wake up early and then you just do it all over again. But yeah,
And
we don't usually take like a ton of fish home with us, just
yeah.
because even just to fillet like perch, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
So
It is a lot. I've had to
we we
fillet
never.
like 60 plus perch.
Oh wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And
It's
I don't know, like, does Caitlin help you fillet the
no, no,
fish?
no, no,
Yeah.
no, I do it all myself.
Yeah.
I fillet every fish. I mean, she might do like 2 or 3 because so she just said she's not, comfortable with it. She's like,
Yeah.
"I don't wanna, like, muck it up." I'm
Right.
like, "Well, the reason like, the way you're gonna get better is by doing it because
Uh-huh.
I do it, like, so fast now, but I've
Yeah.
been doing it for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So, I've been filleting fish since I don't even know how long it's been now. I'm 32, probably over 10, 15 years I've been filleting fish,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where, like, at that point and I mean, like, like, when we did, like, the 60 plus fish, we were on Lake Erie, and we were perching, and, like, they were all good eaters, so
Mm.
and we needed fish for our, Easter fish fry, so,
Mm.
um
Yeah.
okay, so the other thing I wanna talk about because you and I, we both have kids,
Yeah.
both blended families.
Mhm.
Like us, we take our kids out fishing a lot.
Yeah.
Have the kids always liked to fish, or is that something they got into? Because like when Jamie has kids, right, and then you have kids.
Yeah.
So how many is that total? And do you guys always like go out fishing like together? And like do they all like it? Like, because
Yeah.
I think getting kids in the outdoors is huge.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's amazing. And I mean, I've seen your post. It's awesome. Like it makes my heart so happy seeing all the
Mm.
kids in the outdoors. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's just, with our day and age, there's just too much electronics, and
yes.
so easy for them to get caught up in that and just kind of not want to do anything else. So I just I'm very, like, I'll maybe just to start, the boys, so Jamie has 2 boys, and the boys fished with their dad, obviously,
Yep.
before.
Mhm.
The girls had never fished before, so it's new for them. So the boys love it. Like Easton really, really loves fishing. Like he loves fishing, and anytime, you know that we can get out and he can come, he loves that. And so I think the girls, it's tricky, right? Like the kids like it until, or they don't like it until they start catching fish, right?
Yeah.
And then
And then they're like, yes.
yeah, and then once they can like do it on their own, like, Last year, Adelaide had caught a couple of bass on her own. And I think that that's kind of when it started to be more of a love thing for her, where she
That's
actually,
your eldest, right?
yeah, my oldest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, once they can connect and like they've got that rod in their hand themselves,
Mhm.
they're doing their own thing and they catch a fish, that is the best. Right.
Yes.
Because, like the odd time, Jamie, so when we're at the cottage, the kids are jumping off the boat and we're fishing at the same time. It's totally crazy. We don't usually do that anywhere else. It doesn't seem to work anywhere else. I don't know why, but we have a big swim mat that we tie to the end of the boat. The kids jump off the end of the boat and Jamie and I will fish off the front and we catch muskie and bass and everything.
While
Crazy.
they're swimming at the back.
And there's 5 of them making all kinds of noise. We got music going. Like, it is wild. I
What?
don't know why. It's in it, it just feels like this magical place that we can do this. I don't know. Um, but I don't know where, I can't remember where I was going with that story, but just the fact that, oh, I know, because like sometimes they see us catching fish and they want to catch a fish too, but they don't want to do any of the work, right? So
Right.
sometimes like Jamie will hook into a muskie and be like, okay, who wants this, right? So then
Yeah.
it'll be kind of like who's up next, and they get to reel it in and experience what that feels like. um but I think when they do it themselves, like my youngest this summer had her rod and she had her bait in the water, and all of a sudden she just shouts, "Mom, I think I've got a fish." And then she did, and that was, I think those are the moments that you want,
Oh
because
yeah.
then they're doing all the work themselves and they see the reward from it, and it's so fun for them to catch them.
Oh,
And
and yeah, totally agree. Like it's awesome. Like I know my three, well, Caitlin's three that I've yeah, they're my stepkids. But seeing them catch fish, like they get excited and it's just an awesome it's awesome. It's
yeah,
awesome to watch. Cause like again, like we grew up outdoors, but kids nowadays are so I hear about my friends' kids and they're like, yeah, they were on the Xbox for like from the time they got home from school. And I'm like, no, I
yeah,
don't want that.
yeah,
Like, and especially because we don't live in the city. Like, we live in the country and it's
right.
got so much beautiful stuff. Like,
Yeah, and I
so,
mean, like, fishing, it takes a lot of patience, right?
oh, yeah.
And kids don't necessarily have a lot of patience, and
Mhm.
and that's normal. But it teaches them patience, right? And it teaches them to have confidence in themselves, especially
Mhm.
when they connect, right? When they connect with a fish, it gives them that, like, oh my gosh, like I can do things, right? Like, these are
Yeah.
skills that, I don't know, I wish that I had to learn more about that. I wish I had to learned how to hunt when I was younger, right? Like,
Yep.
so maybe my kids they might not totally appreciate everything now because they have lots of interests, right? But
Yes.
I think that eventually down the road, they will absolutely appreciate these moments, and know that, oh my gosh, like I can actually do this, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and
and I feel that too. Like when I was a kid, again, like my grandparents took me all over the place, and then I got into competitive hockey, played that for a number of years, got hurt, stopped, got back into fishing, and I was like, oh, like I can fillet a fish.
yeah,
So like it's I totally agree with you. Like
yeah,
it's a great it's just and these are the memories, like you said, these are the memories they're gonna remember. Like they're gonna remember catching like this big bass or their first fish or
mhm, exactly.
and
Exactly. Like the moments where when I was fishing with my dad and my brother, like they're eons ago, but I remember them so vividly, and I just remember like the excitement of getting into that boat and busting out into the lake, and with that excitement and that hope of something cool happening that day. Yeah.
so next question, actually, getting into that. What is your favorite fishing memory?
Mm. Probably when I caught my very first muskie.
Yeah.
Um,
That
we
was
were,
recently, was it not?
no, it was a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
um, we were walleye fishing, of course, and
Of course.
I wasn't targeting muskie is what I wasn't doing. Um, and I hooked into like a giant. And
Oh, really?
yes. And like I'll just never forget it because we have it on film because it was so crazy. I'm
Oh my
just glad
goodness.
that
Well,
Jamie
I
just
need to see
saw
this film.
it. There's a lot of swearing and a lot of like craziness, so I will show you, but not everybody.
Okay.
um,
I'm
but yeah,
I'm gonna wait for that
Jamie
message.
set the camera up, and it was something else. Like just the two of us, like because we kind of went through it together, and when once we realized what it was, because I thought I just like maybe snagged a carp or something. I honestly had no clue. I wasn't ready for it. Like I had,
Yeah.
10 pound, I had 10 pound braid on and like an old spinning reel that he had. And
So you're hoping the line's not breaking.
exactly. And like he didn't put up a crazy huge fight. We got him into the boat. Like we didn't even have the proper net because we just like nobody catches a fish like this.
No.
And he got it into the boat for me, and this fish was a 52.5 inch muskie.
Pardon me?
Yes. Yes. Like
On
it
what?
feels like
When you
a,
were fishing for walleye?
yes. And I caught it on a rip jig. I don't Have you ever used a rip jig before? Like a hair jig?
Yeah, the ones that you guys sell, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've used
and
those.
you rip
Like,
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And you got a muskie on that.
I got it. Yeah, 52.5 inch muskie. Like, I
And
mean, Jamie
no
always just
leader,
says
you didn't lose it or
no
anything like that?
leader. Not no, no.
What?
I just think he was so old. He was just like, I mean,
And it
it
was
took
over
me about
50
7
inches.
minutes to get him in.
I
So,
would, yeah, that's probably put up a bit of a fight,
I
like,
mean,
or
I'm sure,
weight.
but all he did was it was just he stayed low, right? He stayed low for a long time. It
Yeah.
was just like I was hooked on a rock.
Oh my
But yeah,
God.
52.5 inch muskie. I could barely lift it. Like it still blows my mind to this day that right. So like, remember when I was saying redemption, like for fishing all those years and never catching a muskie and just being the net girl.
There's people that have spent my
Oh,
uncle
right.
Al, he has spent years trying to fish muskie and he's never broken 50 inches.
I know.
And
I
you did it on a walleye hair jig.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Muskie love hair jigs. I found that out.
So anybody listening, True North Baits,
Yep,
hair jig. They'll
yep.
eat them. The muskie will eat them.
They will. And
I
big
mean,
too. Like, oh, they just.
that is I I I'm speechless. I just
I know.
I never would
I
have
didn't know if you knew that.
expected that.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, yeah, no, I had no idea. That was on a
Yeah.
hair jig. That
Yeah.
sounds like
I'll send you the picture after because it's like this thing was just like a dinosaur of a dragonish, just dark, and I
well,
just still
yeah.
couldn't believe it. Like I remember, like when I was holding him to let him go, and like the adrenaline was just going. Because I'd never
Mhm.
in my life seen a fish this big, and even Jamie, he's like, I've never in my life seen a fish this big. And like I just remember like when he swam off and he was awesome. I just came into the boat and I like collapsed on the floor of the boat and I
Probably
just started like
shaking.
sobbing, just just in total shock. You know,
Well,
it was cool.
that
But that's
is
cool. That's fishing though, right? Like
that is like
you
you
never
again.
know.
No, you don't. I have never. I mean, it's not as big as a muskie, but I never expected to catch bass on a mini mayfly or a baby invader or anything like that. And like, so last year, Caitlin got a 4 pound smallmouth bass on nip with a TNB Wonder Bread mini mayfly.
A mini mayfly.
A mini mayfly. I was dying. So like, and the best part is she caught it twice. So she got it. It was on. She reeled it up, and she lost the fish at the hole. Dropped it back down immediately. The fish bit it again. She pulls it up. I'm like, that's a bass. That's why it's putting up so much of a fight. And like this thing was like 4 pounds. Smallmouth bass, her best. And I'm like, this thing bit into like a
I was
little
just
itty
gonna say
bitty.
like a little hook.
Yeah.
It must have been a pretty small hook to fit a mini mayfly. Or was it a mini
Well,
or
it was It was, yeah, no, it was a mini. We were on like the little Wonder Bread hooks. Like we were rocking the little micro
Like the tungsten?
tungsten,
Yeah,
the tungsten mini, like those Wonder Bread hooks with
yeah,
the mini mayflies, all Wonder Bread, and this bass and it swallowed it the second time.
yeah, yeah.
Like when it got off, I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." But then it chomped it again, and it swallowed it, and she pulled it up, and I was like, "What?" Like this
Oh,
bass, smallmouth bass, and oh my god, I was like, I was
it
not
like
expecting that from a
exactly, it's one
bass.
of those things that you just like you were not expecting that. And
No,
that's
because
how
usually,
cool
like,
they can turn, right?
I catch bass on sticks
Yeah,
predominantly. That's all, and I mean, I've talked about this, and you've seen me catch bass on
yeah.
sticks. Like that's all I do is
Well,
use
we've sent
sticks.
you a lot of sticks.
Don't say that. I don't
Well,
do that many.
you gotta have a lot of them.
Well, I mean, considering it's really funny, I order everything from you guys, but then I only like use sticks and I have to keep restocking sticks because that's all I use. Um, but yeah, no, it
You
was
keep
just
your sticks. I don't know. Have we talked about you keeping your sticks so that
oh,
we can do the whole
I
recycling?
have a massive I have a massive freezer bag
Yes. Okay.
full of
Well,
plastics.
next time I
So,
actually see
okay,
you, you got to give
yes.
me that so that we'll make you some new sticks out of your plastic.
Okay, so let's talk about that then. So, True North Baits has this awesome, and I should have been using it probably 2 years ago because I've gone through so many things of
Yeah.
sticks and plastics. True North Baits has a recycling program, and I will let Nikki
Mhm.
explain what that is. So, go ahead, Nikki.
So if you use True North Baits product or plastic, we don't accept any other plastic just because our plastic is different from other people's plastic.
Yep.
So we want you if you're a True North Baits customer and you know if you've got frogs with legs ripped off or senkos that are half missing or whatever, you want to put them in a bag, keep them, and then like if you want to bring them to a show and you want to we can basically melt them all down and it kind of depending on what colors you originally have it makes like a whole new color and we can melt those down and see what they look like and then make one of your favorite baits out of them. So
Now does that cost or
you know what, I can't exactly you know what, that's a terrible question for me because I can't remember. I if there is a cost, like I think there's like a discount to it. So
yeah.
but yeah, I'll definitely have to
I vaguely remember. I think it was
get back to you, or
shipping.
maybe Jamie can like
Yeah.
answer this question.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Just
terrible.
like kind of like comment on it. Oh yeah, this is the cost.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure that there's definitely like a discount to it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I believe there is.
yeah,
Because we have talked about that because I've told Jamie I have a bag like ready to go, but I still haven't sent it or given
yeah,
it to you guys yet because I'm just
yeah,
like might as well just keep going. Just make a big one, make a huge bag for you
for
guys.
sure. Yeah, you might as well, right? Like instead of a small Ziploc bag, that's not really going to get you a ton. So yeah,
I have a better freezer bag.
okay, that's well, that's good.
It's
Thanks.
now speaking of shows, when's your guys' next show?
We are doing a show. Oh, and I can't remember exactly what the show's called. I think it's and or where it's west. So hopefully maybe we'll see you there because it's this is my
West.
terrible. I have a terrible memory, and it's
That'll
kind
be another
of
thing that we
so
can comment on after.
yes. Oh my gosh. See, this is he's gonna totally laugh at me for this stuff, but there is a new show that we're doing. I don't even know when it is. See, like this is terrible.
Is it
Oh,
really your partner though if they're not giggling at you? You're like, "Oh, ha ha ha." Like, really? Like,
I can tell you about the next two. I just can't tell you about that one. But you know, it's going to be an all Canadian, like local brands, though.
mhm.
It's something brand new, and so we are excited about it. And if you can check it out, it's going to be. I think it's like east of Hamilton, so like east,
Okay, yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry west.
Yeah.
Which we've never done a show that way, so that'll be cool to maybe
And
connect some people out that way.
you guys are at the Sportsman show this year, right?
We're gonna be at the Sportsman Show, yep, for all the days.
All the days they have.
All the days. Well, because we did this Sportsman Show for just one day one time. So
With
um
CSS, I remember
that's
that.
right. Yeah.
That was 2022, I believe.
Yes. So
Yes,
this
I
time
remember
we have
that.
our very own booth, which is pretty
That's exciting.
so exciting.
That
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
I had a thought and then I lost it. I was going to ask you
Mm.
something. We were talking about shows. I'm losing my mind here. Probably. Okay. Last question. Because we're gonna be reaching that hour mark soon. Advice for females getting into hunting fishing. I know there's always the advice like get out there and do it. Just one specific piece of advice I've heard: get warm socks, like know your gear. So, what being a female in this industry and owning a bait company like you do, fishing, what is your advice for women out there trying to get into hunting, fishing? Because you are getting into hunting yourself. Like, what kind of piece of advice would you offer for new female outdoors women out there?
Mhm. Um,
Put you on the spot here.
yes, I didn't remember this question, but I do now. I think so. This is something that we didn't talk about, but we also like to kayak fish. And so, if you know, maybe if you don't have access to a boat or something, but and you've kind of exhausted like shore fishing or even just you just don't know where to begin. I would even like there's places to rent kayaks, even give that a shot. And if you have a vehicle, because that's the biggest thing, right? If you have a vehicle that you could put a kayak on top of or inside, like I have a van, so I've actually shoved a kayak into the van and I could go
That's
on.
impressive.
Yes. Oh, I just move all the seats and stuff around. And so, like, if I want to go, because I don't have my boating license, it's definitely on my bucket list of things to do. Um, but like, if I really just wanted to go out with some friends or by myself or whatever, like, I could put one of the kayaks in the van and head out. So, like, just and kayak fishing is fun. I don't like. I wish we had talked about this, but like, it is.
I know. I think we're gonna have to do another episode like come spring.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Like
sure.
you're gonna have to come back on here
Yes.
again, and we're gonna have to do because I also am a kayak fisher.
Oh, it's
That's
fun.
yeah.
Love
It's
it.
it's my favorite.
It
It's my
really it
favorite.
really is. Like there's nothing better than catching a fish like where you're on the surface of the water instead of in a boat. Like it
Yep.
is the adrenaline rush of that is amazing.
Yep. And
So
now, okay, so we're gonna book another episode where you and I are just gonna talk about kayak fishing
sure.
predominantly.
Sure.
Perfect. Done.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And pulling like big largemouth out of like all kinds of weeds. Like it's just my favorite. That's something I forgot all about. I have too
Well,
many.
and you know, it's funny because I totally forgot about that too because I've seen the kayak fishing. Like, and I also like when I lived in Brantford, I was predominantly fishing Grand River and Nith River out of
Mm,
a kayak, and I used to pull massive bass out of there.
oh,
So I totally get the kayak fishing. It's awesome.
mhm. Yeah, or like a canoe, right? Like if
Oh
you have
yeah,
access to, those types of things, or if you have friends, if you just, I even just saw somebody on Facebook the other day who is in the industry and she was asking, like, is there anybody who lives in this area that would want to, like, another female angler that would want to go out and do stuff? So, like, there's all kinds of ways, like if you're not comfortable to go out on your own, that you can connect with there's lots of fishing groups. You can ask, any of us to, if we know somebody that lives in that area or this area, reach out. But definitely don't let the fear hold you back, because there is so much fun to be had that you are missing out on if you're just worried about it. So I know there's lots of people who like have great shore spots that they're doing really well. So yeah, like there's lots of things out there um, that can get you out, and then you start meeting people, and then it sort of snowballs, right? And then you can.
well, and that's exactly you and I had talked on social media, and then next thing you know, we went up for a weekend up in
Yeah,
Verona. I don't even remember. It
yeah,
was up north of
yeah,
Nipissing, and here we are now, 2 years later. We're sitting
yeah,
here, and
yeah.
like,
And
and that's a thing.
amazing. That was an amazing weekend, right? Because it was like the South met the North, like so Southern
Yeah,
people met Northern people, and
exactly.
it
Yep,
was amazing. It was awesome.
yep. And I mean,
And
I
we
still
caught
talk.
a lot of fish that
We
weekend.
did. Dom was on episode, I forget number 3 or 4 or whatever, she was on with me, and that's the thing, like, for our listeners, if you guys wanna reach out to Nikki,
Yeah.
me, anybody I've had on here, don't be afraid, like,
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
tag my guests in all the episodes, like, don't be afraid, reach out.
Yeah.
Nikki is an amazing human, she'll answer you.
Yeah.
She,
And
like
if something I don't know, like I'll forward you on to somebody who does or lives in the same area as you or whatever, right? Like
yeah.
there are we have a far reach of people that we know in the industry, right? Like we all do.
And like that's exactly my goal of this whole podcast is to
Mhm.
bring women together to do these awesome things, hunts,
Yeah.
fishes, everything. That is my goal.
Yeah.
So again, if our listeners questions, concerns, or you have want to go fishing with one of us, you guys are in Bruce County, you want to come fishing, let me know. If you
Mm.
guys are interested in what area Nikki is in, reach out to her. If you guys are interested in the True North Baits, follow True North Baits. And your Instagram is Our
I
Family Loves to
love
Fish. You have multiple, right?
I have a personal account and then our family loves to fish is sort of more the fishing.
Yes. So follow on Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
and you just, there's so, like, we all just want to hang out and have a great time together, essentially.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
our outdoor stuff. We are overdue for a fishing trip. I'm
Yeah.
hoping maybe in the summer, either you guys can come up to us or we can get out to you guys or something.
You know what I'd love? I'd love to come up and do you do the Grand in your kayak?
So I don't live in Brantford anymore. I
Oh,
live up Bruce Peninsula. I do a lot of backwoods lake fishing in my kayak,
okay.
and I pull monster bass out
Well, let's do that.
on mini sticks. On True North Baits mini sticks, and I think it's the bubble gum, the pink ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I definitely like I know spots in the Grand. My parents still live out there, so we can. I do want to plan like a fishing trip out that way, like do my parents type thing. But we definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are hitting the hour mark. And for our listeners, we are doing a giveaway with this
Yep.
episode. I don't know the giveaway. You're gonna have to follow along on social media for said giveaway, and I
Yep.
don't expect Nikki to give it out. You definitely have
The
to.
True North Baits giveaway.
It is, yes, it's a
There
True North
might
Baits
be
giveaway.
some sticks in there for
Exactly, the good stuff.
yeah, the good stuff.
So you have to follow on social media for that. I'm patiently waiting for my Wonder Bread hoodie. I can't wait
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
It's such a nice
It's so
hoodie.
fun.
But anyway, thank you, Nikki, for taking the time out to come chat with me tonight.
Thanks.
Like I said, I've been waiting for this episode. I'm so glad you came on.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. It's
I
been
definitely can't wait to see how the rest of ice fishing goes. If it goes, hopefully it goes.
oh, it's gonna go.
I'm hoping so. I mean, we've got our trip. Well, me and Caitlin have our trip up to Kirkland Lake, so
Mm.
that may be our last ice fishing trip because I don't know how Simcoe and Cooch are going to be in the next few weeks with all this rain we're having. But
Which
anyway,
you just reminded me of something. I
oh,
gotta tell you this because
okay.
JB bought me for Christmas. He bought me a fishing trip into Quebec, and
Oh
we're
no,
go.
I'm jealous.
I don't know. There's so many things. I'm so I had to like tell you because I'm just so ecstatic.
When
So
is it?
we're going with a guide.
Yep,
Andrew Walker is taking us muskie fishing through the
through
ice.
the ice.
It is the only place I think in the world, and the government's actually closing it down this year. So this is the last opportunity to do this, and
And
I'm
when is this happening?
so stoked. I think the last week of February.
Okay. So you guys need to follow True North Baits, Our Family Loves Fish,
Yeah,
all that stuff for updates on that
yeah,
because Quebec fishing, I mean, they have ice because they're like the lake we're hitting in February in Kirkland Lake is
yeah,
like I think we're driving another hour north and the lake borders on I can't pronounce it. Don't ask me to pronounce it.
yeah.
It's like a lake that goes into Ontario and Quebec. So
Okay.
but
Is
they
it
like
you're going?
pardon?
Are you going into Quebec?
No, we're
Oh,
staying on the Ontario side, I think. I have
okay.
no idea. I'm going, Shauna Lee from Wild North Adventures
It
TV.
was that your first episode?
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. So we're going up with her. I can't pronounce the lake, and I'm really not going to try because I
Yeah.
will probably butcher it.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lake that borders on there, and like they have pike, walleye, all that kind of fun stuff. But they're already like -50. She was
Oh,
giving me the packing list the other day, and I'm like,
the
oh
packing list?
yeah, oh yeah, because we need like it's a list of like warm clothes. She's like, you need
That's
this.
amazing.
And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And I'm like, "So how much ice do you guys have?" And she's like, "Lots of ice." So I'm like, "Okay." So and she's like, "Yeah, it's like -50." She's like, "I can't wait to see you in your pineapple shorts in -50." I was like, "I don't know if I'm gonna bust out the pineapple shorts in -50. It might just be like a quick picture and then be like, back the pants on, like layer up real fast." I mean, I know the pineapple shorts show up everywhere, but I'm like,
Yeah.
-50. I don't
Yeah.
know about that one.
Yeah. Well,
But
that sounds amazing too.
yeah. So
Yay.
I can't wait to see that Quebec trip.
Mm.
Again, we will probably have you on again. Um, come springtime, talk about the end of your ice fishing season, getting into kayaks.
Mhm.
Again, I'm always welcoming my guests back because there's always a different perspective for each part of the year.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Well, and there's
anyway,
so many things that we're doing. You can't possibly talk about it all in an hour.
no, and I mean we're over the hour now, so
Sorry.
oopsie. I'm not mad at it. Um, but anyway, thank you, Nikki, for coming on. Thank you guys for listening again. Giveaway will be on the social medias. Not gonna tell about it now. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Nikki. And have a great day, evening. I don't know when I'm gonna release this, probably in the morning. So anyway, have a great day, guys.